Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry. I First I had in my mind, it's like, oh, it's at 7. And I was like, I'll send out the Zoom link at 6:30. And then Susan texted me and I was like, get on it right now. So I'm like scrambling.
All good.
Oh, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Are you wearing a soccer hairband?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. It's very it's very awesome. I don't,
It's not the word you're looking for.
I was like, what is like I just remember girls, when I went to school would wear those like in the 90s, and
They
so
would or would not.
they would.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's like back to
Tim.
the 90s. That's a good thing. Hey Tim.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Sorry for the late Zoom link.
Oh, no worries. Hey, Dustin, do we have Wayne? Can you hear the bird over there?
I can.
Do we have Barbara and Wayne Goodrow on PEIA
Yes.
emails? Because he said he's not receiving them, and I don't know if it's just confusion on his part.
Oh, I don't know. It should be, but I could take a look at it. Yeah, let me make a
Okay.
note.
I told him I would ask tonight if I had a chance.
Yeah, let me take a note. Oh, that's here. I'll take a note of my notes so that let's see here. Uh, uh, okay. I'll take a look at it after we're done today. So
Okay.
yeah. Hi Susan. Thanks for making it.
Hi, thank you.
Uh, Tim, what kind of birds do you have there?
Uh, what what you're hearing is an orange wing Amazon.
Oh,
Oh,
Let me see if I can bring her over here. Hang on.
yeah,
Hope I don't get bit.
Oh, I totally want to see this.
I know, right? I want to see Tim get bit
Oh,
in the most loving way possible.
hey, Martin, can you hear me okay? My
Yes,
son was very impressed with you.
I see.
So I'm basking in that, you know, limelight.
Oh, is it your son?
Yep.
Okay,
This is Juanita.
Hi, Juanita.
I see.
It's beautiful.
Juanita.
She
How
is
old is she?
with parrots, you can't tell. They don't show their age. So once they get out of a baby or adolescent stage and they become adults, you cannot tell. So I
Amazing.
think she's probably in her 30s.
Wow.
Wow.
You can see the orange, maybe a little baby bit, I don't know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
in her wing.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah. So she's my newest acquisition.
Have you had birds before?
Yeah, I've had parrots for I don't know, close to 40 years now, going all the way back into college.
Wow.
Um, I've had a total of four now. One passed away, and I have three right now.
Wow, that's
Wow.
crazy.
But these are she's not. The other two I have are rescue birds. She is kind of a rescue. A friend of mine, his mom went into senior care, and they won't let her bring the bird with her, so I am now her caretaker.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh,
I'll
she's beautiful.
put her back before she bites.
Saw Gloria pop in, but is she not here? Oh, here we go. She's joining now. Okay. And Vinay is here. Perfect. Yay. Okay. Wait a few more
Yeah,
minutes if anyone else pops in, but
yeah, sorry, I'm on mute. I had to bring Mandy to
yeah, no worries.
the activity here. Sorry.
All good. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? And um oh, sounds like we have one more person come on. Let's get started. A few things. So we'll go over feedback from the last few events. That includes town hall, garage sale, emergency preparedness. We have to sort of decide what our emergency preparedness topics are for November. We'll talk a little bit about the emergency preparedness field trip that's coming up. the summer solstice concert, a little update on Firewise, the positions available, YouTube and photo album, and then disbursements and reimbursements and kind of the financial side of things. So, to start us off with feedback from the last few events. So we had our town hall, our garage sale, and our emergency preparedness where Frank did Firewise, and then we did Chris Brown talked about communications or whatnot. Any feedback from all those events? Just let's have at it. And is there anything anybody wants to bring up in feedback? No?
I think I'd already mentioned it to you, Dustin, but great audio. I really appreciate
Yay,
it.
perfect. Okay. Good. Yeah, we spent $100 and got mics, and it seemed to help. So good. I'm glad that was better. So yay. Okay. Well, none of that then.
Better than we thought.
I'm sorry?
The turnout was better than we thought, even though we didn't necessarily get the RSVPs. We had a decent turnout.
Yeah, we had a really good turnout. I was pretty surprised at that. And it was weird because normally people are really good about RSVPing, and usually we're within give or take 10 or 10 or 20% of RSVP, but this was a huge disproportion of we literally had like barely 10 RSVPs and we probably had 35 show up. So I'm not sure what was a disconnect in this time. I'd be curious to know, but I'm not sure if there's a way to really get feedback on that. So I guess if it happens again, we could probably ask, but if it happens every once in a while, not the end of the world or anything. So um any other comments around the last few events? No. Okay. Next item then is emergency preparedness topics for November. What should we do for our next workshop? We've had an offer from Oakland Fire to come out and talk with us, and kind of how sort of fire safe, fire ready are we as a neighborhood? I feel like we're sort of doing that already with Firewise to some degree. Just in context for February, Corey's going to talk with us about how to garden and landscape to be fire cognizant. So I'm sort of wondering if we should do a fire thing in November just because we've been doing so much fire stuff, but maybe that's what we need to be doing. So anyways, I wanted to open up the floor and get some thoughts as to what we could talk about in November.
It's always good to have, an official if you want to attract people to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This is in November, you said?
Yeah.
So I have some thoughts. I
Go for
think
it.
sadly we're going to likely have an event or something that may create its own topic for us sometime this year. But I like the idea of scheduling an official as either the primary or it coincidentally works out that we're going to want to be hearing from that individual. I just don't see how we're going to go through another summer and not have something happened in Oakland that could potentially be of issue for us to take seriously and talk about.
It does seem like November is winter, and that's not really fire thinking at the time. I mean, the hot times is the September, October winds. That's when everybody's on edge.
Yeah.
This year, because of what happened in LA and the fire we already had, it's going to be all summer.
Yeah.
And, one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know, I follow Nextdoor and Citizen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been talking to other people, and I don't think people are aware that, we have a fire almost once a month, an automotive fire over in the Sequoia area or over where the eucalyptus trees are at the East Bay Regional Parkhead. And there's almost one car lit up, abandoned once a month.
Okay.
And I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, that's actually a huge concern for Hillcrest Highlands, because sometimes there's a car fire that's down in the canyon, and you think about just so that fire expands, we're all kind of screwed, if you will, for lack of a better term. So, Tim, no, totally great point. Um,
I mean, I
maybe
was
just
hoping that at some point, and we get closer to Fourth of July, right? The city of Oakland will often shut down Grizzly Peak. We had one year where they shut Skyline down for us. If that's something they might want to take into consideration on a high fire danger day, a windy day, or Fourth of July, closing
gotcha.
that park area. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've
No, the
kind of
other one, sorry, go ahead.
lost hope in the city with a lot of that.
The other one I was thinking about recently was, we started the GMRS radio initiative. I have been not doing anything since last October or sometime. It may be good to rekindle that and make sure whoever has the GMRS is kind of refreshed in their ability to use it and communicate. Uh, that may be worth doing sooner than November, ahead of the fire season.
Yeah, so we did communications at our last one, at our last emergency preparedness. We did it was about 30 minutes, but I don't think it turned out really the way I wanted to have it turn out. I wanted it to be a little bit simpler, and Chris and Terry, they're so good at what they do and they love it so much, but in a way, the over enthusiasm of the knowledge, I think, kind of came out, and it makes it difficult for the people who aren't into radios to kind of grasp onto it. So I think what Martin and I kind of decided was maybe we make sort of small, really easy videos, and that's a little bit more digestible. I think it's one of those weird things that it's like we got to really figure out how do we take complex things and make them super, super simple for just the average person to understand.
Yeah.
And then from
Love
there, I think it's great. Maybe we have a little workshop to get everyone to bring the radios. We all get them all set up or something.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe stimulating some sessions where we can actually communicate and know how to communicate will be useful because I'm just sitting with a radio and I'm not really doing anything. So when the
mhm,
emergency hits, I really may not be able to do much with it.
mhm, mhm.
would it help to get together, maybe just us, for example, on that one night a week, a month when the radio practices? Is it once a month, I think, or something? I haven't done that. And maybe if we got together as a group and did it, we'd have a feeling for what we have to teach if we have to show somebody. Because I haven't a clue. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd be willing to meet. I think it's at 7 o'clock or something weird. And
Yeah,
it's hard on me. It's hard on a lot of people to meet, but at
yeah,
that,
it's the Genox Oakland networks.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
They
it.
do. Yeah, I've been on a couple of those, which it has been helpful at least to know how to listen in and take some action.
Oh
But I
yeah.
think something similar where a few of us in the neighborhood are comfortable using the device and initiating communication, I think will be helpful in an
Yeah.
emergency.
It's supposed to be the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. That's the Geno check-in.
Do we know people that other than Chris and I'm sorry, I forgot his name, who are
Terry.
yeah, Terry, who are experienced? Because that's a great idea, Vinay. If we can engage them to maybe make some plans of how to teach people. I just don't know what needs to be done. So it's hard to know
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
Martin knows about it.
Yes, Martin.
Yeah, Gen Oak is run by John Rebold and Doug Mosier.
But the check-in, that thing that you do occasionally,
I
it's
mean,
pretty
we could do our own neighborhood check-in outside of Gen Oak. We don't have because To access the Gen Oak repeater, you need to get special CTSS tones you have to put into the radio, which can be a little bit complicated depending on which radio you have.
Mm.
So we have not adopted that because of the additional complexity.
Mm.
So for us to join the Gen Oak thing, anybody can if they wish to do it, but we could always have our own neighborhood check-in.
What would that look like, Martin? How would we do that? A neighborhood check-in?
We would just broadcast it that, hey, we want to do a check-in on this date and time, and anybody with a radio can turn it on and listen or key up, say who they are. It's very informal.
So, okay.
Can
So
I
we
just
need to know how to do that then. You know what I mean? Most
can
of
I
us-
just say something?
Yeah.
I was at the meeting where you talked about the radios. I had no clue what was going on. It was not clear why we had a radio or what we were supposed to do with it.
Yeah.
It was very confusing. And there were other people who felt the same way when we walked away. So I think
Yeah.
there needs to be another meeting about the radios, but it's got to be a more structured presentation,
Yeah.
understanding why we need this particular radio, what we're going to do with it. It just was not clear. It was
Understood.
kind of all over the place when we were there.
That's great feedback. Yeah, it was partly a pre-planning problem. We didn't do a good job of planning it out as well as I had envisioned. So that's definitely on us. And I think we need to really emphasize like we have to keep this as simple as possible. And
start with the basics. I mean, none of us have ever I've never used a radio and I have no idea.
Right.
So really it needs to be very basic, I think, for most of us.
Yes, agreed. Without a doubt. We're going to think about that and really figure out how to do this best because it is a complex topic and we have to figure out how to really boil it down to just the bare basics. So bear with us while we try to figure it out, but your feedback is spot on. Yeah, if one person doesn't understand it, that means a lot of people didn't understand it. And that's a problem. You know, if we're trying to communicate, we need everybody on that same path. So I agree. Thank you, Catherine. Well, so back to the original question of like, what do we do for the emergency preparedness meeting in November? Oh, and so I just want to say, Tim, I agree that from a fire standpoint, November is a little bit late. The problem that we start to run into is we have so many other events that come up at the late summer and fall that if I think we throw an emergency preparedness meeting in there, we start to kind of cannibalize everybody's attention. And I want to make sure we try to keep it to about one a month, give or take. And so November just starts to be the next open availability, which is not really fire convenient, if you will. But also I want people to show up too. And so it's a tricky balance, but I hear you and it makes sense from a fire standpoint. Yeah, so back to the November meeting in terms of what we should do. Should we I like the idea of having someone more official to come out. If we look at what we've put up on YouTube, Nick Luby's last talk got the most views of all our YouTube stuff. So he really has a good impact because he speaks from a place of expertise. Should we have Oakland Fire come back or not come back out, but come out and talk? What do you guys think?
Having Oakland Fire come out, we haven't seen them in a while. And
Okay.
they'll have a perspective based on whatever happened this summer.
Okay, that's a great idea. Okay. So we'll have Oakland Fire come back out. Us. Okay. Should we make that? Normally we'd be trying to kind of make that like a dual meeting, where we talk about one topic for half the time and another topic about the other half. Should we do that in this case as well? Should we make it all about fire? Should we?
I think off the top of my head, Firewise has taken up so much energy and time. By that time in November, that sounds to me like a good time to see what we've accomplished and see and decide if there's more to be done, not in addition to actually finishing the Firewise goal, but just seeing how fire hardened everybody is.
Okay. So let's have Oakland Fire come out for November for at least the first half of the meeting. In the second half, we got plenty of time to figure out what the second half will look like. So we don't have to figure it out right now. We got another 6 months to figure it out. So, okay. Anything else around emergency preparedness for November that we should chat about? No.
There's
Okay.
so much.
So next item is then we have the emergency preparedness field trip for June 28th. Is that what we have, Susan?
I think so. Let me look.
Yay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a one-way walk from my house to the Merritt College gate. It's about a mile and a half. Everybody bring their go bags. And then what we'll have as well is we'll have vehicles to then drive us back from Merritt College back to my house. And then we'll have lunch. We'll kind of hang out for a little bit. And trying to think what else about that. It's kind of as simple as that. We certainly need walkers, but we also need a few drivers if possible. Yeah, that's kind of the plan. Emails will start to go out. I think next week in regards to that. So, any questions around that, or any concerns, or Stephanie, Susan? I know we talked about this the other day. Any new ideas or things that may have come up since we last chatted?
I don't think so.
No?
There's so much.
I know, right? Okay.
There's a lot. What date did you say it was?
It's Saturday the 28th. Yeah.
Did you have a start time or a ballpark?
10 a.m. Yeah. Next topic is a summer solstice concert. That is going to be on Friday, June 13th at 6:30 at Joni's house. And yeah, we'll close off Slope Crest and get groovy for an hour and a half. And kind of the same as last year. Nothing really, new or wild. So any questions, concerns, comments around that particular event? Okay. So Firewise, Stephanie and Susan, how was the Firewise meeting on Tuesday?
It's good.
Okay.
We are looking at the total number of responses we've had this far. We are cross-referencing those with the volunteers on the committee to start trying to see if we can get a couple more entries. Our goal is at minimum 75 to be able to kind of take the next step into the program.
Yeah.
And we're getting close.
Do you know roughly how many respondents we have right now?
I think it's 60 maybe.
Oh, okay. So we're pretty close.
It's pulling teeth at this point, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we get basically 2 per street, that should almost do it, so.
Susan Frank contacted me today, and he and I are going to meet, and we're going to go, after I contact all the listing agents who have properties for sale in the neighborhood, we're just going to go do a self-assessment of all of those on their behalf.
Okay.
So we're going to probably be able to get 5 or 6 more houses just ourselves with that tactic.
Okay. That's great. From the other people who are on the meeting right now, Tim, Martin, Kathy, Vinay, Gloria, how has your experience been with the Firewise assessment? And ultimately what I'm looking for is essentially as an answer of that survey, how has that gone for you guys that we can take that feedback and go back to our Firewise committee and see how we can reduce frictions and Yeah, I kind of want to hear from you guys and get feedback so we can always improve.
For me, I don't know. Some of the questions, I guess, I mean, overall went for pretty smooth. Some of the questions, I guess, I were subject to, I guess, interpretation. Like I have wooden stairs that go along the side of one part of the house. Now, is that considered, you know, it's not it's in the zone, the 5 foot zone, and it's wood and it's flammable. I mean, do I need to coat it, treat it, replace it, or is an access egress something like that not fall under the 5 foot rule? And I think there were things like gates. I'm good with the metal gates, but the gate is not 5 feet. There might be a wood column on the other side holding the gate that's within the 5 foot zone. I guess I don't know how close the tolerances are going to be when they come out with a measuring stick or something, whenever that ruling goes into effect.
Tim, I think that's exactly the way people are reacting to the survey. The survey is intended to not make you, supposedly, not make you feel guilty that your stuff isn't up to par. And the opposite is happening. People are feeling anxious over this. And it's actually just supposed to be the first step in gauging what might need to be in the plan later on. It's not supposed to be pointing fingers, but people are reacting as if they feel this pressure that they have to do something and sort of guilt that all this stuff has. And it's upsetting to know that the stuff you've put so much money and time in is suddenly wrong. It's really a brain problem. People put in drought tolerant stuff, which turns out to be fire prone. So it's really, I think the survey is a challenge for us to get people to be comfortable to fill it out.
Yeah, I don't think it stopped me from, held me back on answering anything. It just, like you said, it raised an awareness and questions as to where we're going to go or what we want to do. And I mean, I've already started let's call it deplanting around the house and removing a lot of what's considered flammable in terms of plants. So yeah, that was my experience with it.
And Susan, do you think it's possible to talk with whoever designed that Firewise survey to kind of put something at the top to say like this, like the intent of this is not to,
Yeah, I'm really eager to do that. That would be Joan. Our contact is, what's her name? Jolene.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great feedback for them. I think the reality is this gets sent to people all across the state.
Sure. Yeah.
It might be, yes, other people might be, it's not tailored to us. But a good point.
Right.
I just think when we're presenting it, we need to be sensitive to it so we can talk people, address it. That's something that's, the elephant in the room all the time. So when we're knocking on doors or whatever we have to do, we have to be sensitive to that and figure out a way to make them feel better about it.
They want, Firewise wants like a factual like a factual answer to it, but the reality is that their factual answers create an emotional reaction. So how do we mitigate that? So that makes sense. Anybody else want to kind of chime in on their experience with the assessment and things we can kind of think about?
I will say I opened it after our last meeting. I had not really looked at it, and I found it really daunting. So I just closed it.
I see a lot of people are doing that.
So and a lot of it, I thought, well, maybe my husband knows the answer. I didn't know the answers to half this stuff. So it's a really daunting thing to do, and it's long, and I haven't gotten back to it. So I don't know how you motivate people to fill out something like that. That's, there's a lot of technical stuff that maybe you just don't know off the top of your head.
Well, the Firewise Committee is talking about how, I made paper copies, for example, and I'm handing them out to people I know, and I take them back, and then I fill in, onto the Firewise Google, whatever it is. And we're talking about, when we contact people to say, I'll sit down with you. It'll only take 5 minutes, and let's just do it together, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I still plan to do it. I just haven't gotten to it.
Procrastination gets
it's just a survey. Nobody is looking at your house in particular and going, oh yeah, let's, make a plan. It's more like a general, I think honestly, if we just, without even the survey, if we just walked around, we know what's wrong with our neighborhood. We know where stuff is. But this is something that's a step-by-step approach that Firewise is doing just to get the designation. So it's its own little thing going on.
I don't know why, but when I read the thing and then I took the survey, I guess for some reason the next thing I was thinking is that a group from PEI was going to show up at my door and want to walk around the property and do a look. Which if that's the case, that's great. But I was wondering if that was what was coming down the road.
There is a walk in the neighborhood that we're doing supposedly to get an eye shot of the neighborhood. Of course, we're only seeing the front yard, so it's only partial.
Right.
And then I think later on there's an official, right, Stephanie, that walks around and does a check, and then we're supposed to make a plan.
I think some of that is more broad strokes, like they're not gonna check all 250 homes, but like here's a huge wall of junipers on a corner that could affect people getting out from a specific court. Like broad strokes. We're not checking all 250 homes in particular. So there could be some larger neighborhood projects, maybe 2 entrances, exits in and out of the neighborhood that get prioritized.
Yeah, these are all things we're tackling in Firewise. So, trying to get the neighborhoods involved and the neighbors involved, and then figuring out ways to help everybody do something. Because even, the Firewise designation used to have more weight than it does now, because it doesn't really affect insurance rates anymore, I don't think. So the motivation to do this is not the financial motivation it used to be, but it is a way to look at fire hardening as a neighborhood, which is a good thing. So we can learn from what we're picking up for Firewise, and do some real life stuff for people. I mean, like you said, Tim, I've already started doing the zone. I've got my zone 0, and I'm just doing most of it myself, and I'm old and I'm not all that fit. So I think if we can persuade people that there's a lot they can do and every little thing helps, instead of looking at the whole picture of having to do, redo your decks and stuff like that, which is really over the top for most people. I've gotten a couple of estimates from fencers, and I've actually got one yesterday that I really like, but it's really expensive right now, thanks to the tariffs, just to do the metal, just to get the metal work. So things have gotten really expensive. And some companies want like $6,000 to put in a new gate and a new portion of the fence, which is really outrageous. So when we get together as a neighborhood, we can help each other and offer each other's tools and do the small things that we can manage on our own, because every little bit will help.
Any other feedback from people's kind of experience with what we're trying to accomplish Firewise in the last few months? No? Okay. Cool. Stephanie's using anything on just from Firewise meetings or just in general that we should share here, or
I think it's a good overview, a good place to start and end.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, next item. Let's see here, what else? So we we have some open positions and really things we're trying to fill within PEIA. And so we're looking for a block party coordinator. We're looking for an intervention group coordinator, an emergency preparedness coordinator, a fundraising coordinator, marketing coordinator, a neighborhood watch representative, and block captains. And so I wanted to see if anybody was interested in taking a larger role in any one of those positions.
Goodness, we need more people at these meetings to be.
I know, right? We need a more we need a meeting recruitment coordinator.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think part of that goes into the marketing part, but okay.
The
Justin,
next,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, when's the next, general meeting? I mean, not general meeting, neighborhood event? Because if we can, have a sign up or something for maybe just
Concert.
one or two, not the whole list, but maybe,
The main
something
ones.
more exciting and, have I don't know.
Well, the next one's the concert. So we're going to talk a little about Firewise there, and that's, so we'll have all these people there. But yeah, we can bring up the
Well, I
position
mean,
as
you can,
well.
what's the most important things that need to be filled in that you think, and just maybe talk about them for 2 seconds
Yeah,
at the
we
meeting,
can do
just
that.
2 things at a time.
Absolutely.
You
Excuse me,
might get some more people.
Justin, this is Gloria.
Hey,
Sorry,
Gloria.
I still don't have a camera, but the flyer that I got about the summer solstice concert said
Yes.
Saturday, June 14th.
Yes, we had to change it. So we sent out an email, and we're going to send out some more
Yeah.
emails saying that there's a new date for it.
Oh, so it is the 13th.
It is
Okay.
13th, correct.
All right. I'm just trying to cover for somebody, so I want to make
That's
sure.
okay.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Stephanie.
Justin, could we consider for whenever our next meeting is, to just look the advanced RSVPs, register, have the link sent to you? That's all great, but like, could we try just happening now, send it out and see if we can get 10 more people who happen to be checking email to jump in, to like lower the bar, to make it easier for people to, oh, I'm free. Let me jump on, versus all that.
Meaning for these bi-monthly meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could try that. Doesn't hurt. I try to get RSVPs because then it allows us to kind of keep track of who's coming, who's going. But yeah, we could try that as well. I mean, if we get a few more people, so be it. That's always a good thing. So
Is this the best time for everybody? Because it's hard time for me because we dinner at 7, so it's
yeah. It's tricky. We've tried, a little bit of various times in the evenings. We try to rotate them through different days of the week. But it's tough. We have, if we have it during the day, people are working. We have it at night, people,
right.
Because we have such a wide range of demographics. So I hate to say it, but sometimes it's just like, when am I available? Because because I'm the one who typically runs all the logistics around it. So I try to be as flexible as we can. I think we tried an afternoon one and turned out okay. Granted, that's only one sample size. Yeah, I think we're open to different ideas, but I think regardless, we always people who can make the afternoons can't make the evenings. People who make the evenings can't make the afternoons. So it's always about the same number of people, anyways. Normally we have it at 7. We did 6:30 today, so that was a little bit earlier.
So how would you feel about, and I don't know if it falls under a violation of the use protocol for WhatsApp, but
Sure.
what if you made the next time we had a meeting also a WhatsApp test, and you say, hey, we've done before, this is a test of the WhatsApp app, want to make sure everybody's getting it. Oh, and by the way, we're having a
That's a good
meeting
idea.
that starts right now.
Love it.
That's a great idea. Yeah, in fact, I have it on my kind of test to do the test like every quarter. But yeah, that's a great idea to do it right before.
In
So let me
fact,
make a note of
you
that.
could send a clickable link through the WhatsApp, and it would be a one-touch solution.
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, so let me.
Go, Tim.
Good idea. All right, so oops. 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's possible. I mean, it's still within the same message. I think that's that that's not within reason. I'm sorry, I think that's
The
within
test,
reason. It's not
the
unreasonable.
test can coincidentally happen to fall on always the
Exactly.
meeting date. What's wrong with that?
We could do that. Yeah.
And then if the people who are cranky and don't like it, I'm sure they're going to let us know and we won't ever do it again. So,
It seems like those people are always going to let us know they don't like it regardless. So it's not going to make a difference. I like that. We can I'll make a note of that for next time. I'll kind of set it up all ahead of time. So um great ideas. Um so back to the notion of positions, certainly we can uh mention it at the next event or next events. Probably should mention all the events. Um I think the big things are really having a block party coordinator and IG coordinator. Those are kind of, I think, the two biggest things because those just take up time. Any ideas as to kind of how to kind of solicit the neighborhood to see who's can help volunteer, other than sending out more emails?
Do we dare say, unless we get a volunteer in the next 30 days we won't be having a block party. We're going to end a 40-year tradition.
If I could do that. Oh my goodness.
That never happens. Always people will step up.
You're
I know.
right.
Well, that would be a way
Yeah.
to get someone to step up. It's backhanded.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. One thought I had regarding the volunteers for marketing and things like that. I know my son and daughter are looking for summer, something to do. And I'm sure there are other kids in the neighborhood too. We could maybe give them the opportunity to learn something, some skills
Good idea.
during the summer, and then use their work for the rest of the year or rest of the whatever period of time. So that way they get to learn something, they contribute to the community, maybe town system, community service hours for
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
right?
That's a great idea.
That's great. Market it as a summer intern position.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Community development.
I like
Good
it. I like it. The stuff
Renee,
we're doing is not overly difficult by any means, so I
Yeah,
think
Renee, do you want to do that?
yeah. I'm going to tell my kids to do that. So if you want me to send something out to the neighborhood and invite participation, I could put something together. Sure.
Okay.
yeah, let me think about kind of how we want to structure, because I also want to make sure
Mhm.
too that we get really, we have the kids have a great experience, and that as well as, we spend an efficient amount of time teaching them and getting to know what they need to know. So yeah, I love the idea. Let me wrap my head around it and figure out how best to utilize that. But I like the idea. So
We just have to be really clear on what we expect anybody in that position to do.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Justin
also
already
kind
has
of
job
think
description.
about what tools they could use and how we need to kind of equip them with those. Could be simple tools like slides or docs or anything, right?
Mhm.
They're going to need some guidance. So
Yes,
somebody needs to step up and be like the guide. They can do the work, but somebody's going to have to organize them.
absolutely. Yeah. I used to work for a summer camp a long time ago, and boy, it was not easy to corral a bunch of kids to just the kids in general, let alone the volunteers. So it's really about, yeah, like you said, making sure we're clear on how guidelines. And I think it's all very possible though. And I think it's a great idea. And I think if it gets them some hours and makes them, more committed to the community, that's always a good thing. So it's just a matter of how we do that. But I love the initial idea. So thanks, Vinay. Okay. Let's see here. What else I want to go over with you guys? So changing gears, so we have YouTube and then our photo album through Flickr. And I want to see if you guys have any feedback around that. What's working, what's not, what can we change? What do you like? What do you hate? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I didn't even know about the Flickr.
You know about the Flickr? We just added it maybe like a month and a half ago or so.
Okay,
Um,
I've been to the YouTube site and checked that out, but I have not
yeah.
checked the other one out yet.
So on the YouTube, if you click on the description of each video, if there are available pictures, we will link the pictures to the video. Just click there. Or if you go to our PEIA website, there's a big button at the top for photo album. And that takes us to the entire photo album of on Flickr. And so it shows a lot of the current events, but then we also have a ton of old pictures from like the 70s and some old documents and just interesting stuff that it's kind of neat to nerd out on the history of the neighborhood. So. Any other feedback about those two things? Nope. Okay. Last item, and Gloria, I'm so glad you're here, is we're going to talk about the finances. Let me share my screen. And this here is what we've brought into the neighborhood. So income-wise, let me make it a little bit smaller here. I guess I can't. Can't get it all in here. But income-wise in 2025, which is when we really tried to start fundraising, we've brought in a total thus far of 2141, which is not bad. And we have not even half a year to go. And then from an expense standpoint, what we have in 2025 is we spent about 180 bucks. I think we spent a little bit of money at the end of last year, right, Gloria, for like speakers and whatnot, but we haven't spent a ton now. We did just place an order for t-shirts. So Firewise Committee is going to walk the neighborhood. We also have people who walk the neighborhood to give out flyers. What we learned in the campaign was that when we did the campaign a few years ago, for the most part, residents are pretty cool about people coming up to knock on doors. But we had a few campaigners that ran into just residents who were thinking the campaigners were scammers or burglars or just, advertisers, and they were kind of rude to them. And I'm not okay with that. And so I felt like, oh, what we should have is some sort of like vest or badge that announces who we are. So we got t-shirts so that we just look a little more official and that we're welcomed with grace and not anger. So that's going to run us roughly about $380, give or take. Yeah, so that's upcoming expense. Gloria, any comments you want to add to this?
No, I hope it's acceptable because I'm very, very simplistic. So thank you for taking the names off because I wasn't comfortable
Yes.
keeping the names. All right.
Yes. Yeah. So Gloria has additional notes. I have edited this page so that it's for kind of call it public use. We have more detail on the treasury side of things.
Is there a name for the description of what the date event was, just for our easy reference in your detailed
Yes.
version? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yes. Yeah, it talks about what the expense was and what it was for and et cetera. But I think this was
No. Like 5/19/25 fire safety meeting, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, this one here?
Yeah.
So this was income, and this was a donation that
Yeah.
was made through.
Just so we know, like, oh, we usually make $50 at a donut thing. We make $25 at a
Yeah, so the problem is that sometimes the contributions come in like way afterwards.
Okay. Just
So yeah, but roughly speaking, we're about $200 per event, give or take, which is great.
I do thank the individuals if it comes in, through Venmo or PayPal
Hmm.
separately. So at least we acknowledge that, but I haven't necessarily associated these donations with any particular event.
Yeah, it's tricky because like sometimes I don't know if like, oh, people just saw an email that says, oh, that they can contribute, so they contribute, or is it tied to an event? We're like, oh, we forgot to contribute 2 weeks ago. So now, um, I kind of just think of it like, whatever the most recent event was, that's kind of what we contributed towards. But I think what we do is just at the end, we look at all the contributions over the course of the year, and then we just do an average based on how many events we've had versus how much contributions came in. We can just do an average. So, um, although it is nice to know, hey, certain events are bigger revenue generators than others. Like Town Hall was a great revenue generator. I want to say that got us like $250. So it is sometimes good to know which events hit harder.
Yeah, I think it shows that people, when they feel like they're getting a big bang for their buck, it's a big event and a lot of important people that affect everything are at the event.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Gloria, anything else you want to mention around the financial side of things?
No.
Okay. The last thing for finances is, and I got to double check, what is our threshold? I feel like we are under our threshold for a vote, but there were two expenses from last time we forgot to vote on, which is basically a reimbursement of gifts that we'd given for speakers. Um, and then also by speakers, like guest speakers, not physical speakers. And then also more currently reimbursement for t-shirts. So I'm going to ask for a vote. If it doesn't meet our minimum criteria, it will essentially be a non-vote, but I'm going to double check what the criteria is. And so if it ends up being met, we have enough people, then it's okay to pay out the expense. But basically, all in favor for reimbursement for the gifts from the previous events as well as for t-shirts, roughly totaling about $400. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, awesome. Any nays? Nope. Okay, perfect. So I'll double check that. If not, we'll have to push that vote to another time when we have 10 people. I think that's it for the meeting. Is there anything else anyone else wants to go over or talk about? No? Okay. So let's schedule our next meeting. That'll be in July. At that point, we've got to have block party stuff kind of working. That's kind of the next big event. So I think that'll be somewhat of an important meeting. But yeah, that's about it. So let's figure out our next meeting time. I'm just pulling up my calendar here. Do we want to experiment and try to do a different time of day in July? Does anybody have any
I think
opinions on it?
we go consistent at this point until we get a bunch of people coming and saying this doesn't work for them, or we get more pushback from people that it's the time is the problem.
Yeah,
I think the majority of people will have more time after the workday outside of 8 to 5.
that's another thing too. Yeah.
For me, later in the evening works better than earlier. So going to meet at 8 or something after dinner.
I think we did 7:30 last time. We could go back to that.
Yeah, I think we went 7. I tend to feel like 7:30 might run a little long because I just know if people run out of energy at that point in time. I think the latest we should ever make it is 7, because just imagine it runs an hour and a half by the time then it's 8:30, So
Okay, 7's fine.
how about we aim for the last week of July? Today's what, a Tuesday? No, wait, today's a Thursday. So let's try a different day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Any votes for any one of those days?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, anybody else? All right. How about we do Tuesday? Should we try a little bit earlier, like 6 and see what happens, or should we stick with 7?
We just said 7, I think.
7.
Okay.
You want to do the 20th? What is that?
29th.
29th? Okay.
Okay. We'll do it then.
Okay.
Anything else anyone wants to go over since I have you guys? No? All right. Thank you everybody for your time. It's always good to see everyone, and I appreciate everyone's participation. This is not always easy, and so thank you for caring about the neighborhood and being here.
Thank you for leading, Dustin.
Of course. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Right.
Bye.